How's
to
everyone doing?
the A-Team with Miss
Awesome.
RC. What's up, lady?
Howdy, howdy.
How
Hello,
are you?
beautiful people.
Yeah, it was a good weekend, I must say. Very
It was
good
a good
weekend. Yes. So,
It could
who
have been
wants?
better, to be honest, but hey, 1 point would have made it better. But hey,
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that. Sorry, not sorry.
you don't have to be sorry. That's what there has to be a winner, there has to be a loser, right?
That's
Now,
Right.
this weekend it's going to be flipped, and we're going to be the winners, and y'all are going to be the losers.
Well, I'm already the loser. I'm going to tell y'all right now, I'm still proud of my Roughnecks. I ain't mad at it. Coach Johnson did an awesome job. Players were phenomenal. All the games were within a one score, and I couldn't be more proud. We traveled over 12,000 miles throughout the season,
Wow.
went to every stadium, met wonderful super fans, did some awesome promos, had some great donations, and enjoyed the entire experience. So thank you for a wonderful UFL season, and I'm looking forward to next year.
That's
You
right.
really need to pat yourself on the back because you and your husband did an amazing job, not only for your team, but for the league and for the
Mhm.
fans. And so you brought it to a community, to a family. So thank you for that. I mean, it really means a lot. Like, we need more of you in every league, in every team. That's what we need. So can we clone you? What can we do about that off season?
I
I'm
know,
just
and
out
to
here
all the
spreading the awareness.
veterans too that you
Yeah.
have taken care of too. You all have done so much. And real quick, let me just plug this. Everyone, we will have Dr. Erin Shannon coming on soon. As most of you remember, we did have her on. It was our first week, right? Our first show, I do believe. Yes. So I'm excited to have her back on. But on that note, yes, this season has been a whirlwind season. I mean, I feel like it's just gone by so fast.
Yeah.
So
It
fast.
has.
Really has. So now that it's, I want to say over for you, Amber, what do you have going on now?
I'm looking forward to the playoffs. Definitely going to be there at the championship game,
Mhm.
repping my Roughnecks like always. Big shout out to Mr. Predator as well as Rig Rocker, both
Yes.
of which were wonderful travel companions. And good times, bad times. It was amazing. I enjoyed every bit of it. Probably going to relax a little bit. Things have
Yeah.
been kind of hectic, so I'm looking forward to the relaxation of it
Mhm.
all, and looking forward to seeing what teams are going to be brought into the UFL, because I'm hearing through the grapevine, one, maybe two. What cities do we think could they be? Are we going to get the Sea Dragons back? Could the Vipers move to Vegas and stay there for sure? Will Orlando come back into play? Is it going to be one USFL and one XFL and extend the season? I'm looking forward to all the new stuff that's going to happen. So,
No, me too. RC, what you coming to St. Louis this weekend?
I am not coming to St. Louis. I know a couple of this Brahma Babe is coming. I know Jorge had some car issues, so he
Oh,
might
he's
not be
coming now.
Oh, he
So
is coming.
kudos to his
Okay, well,
beautiful
great.
wife for
Oh,
yes.
awesome.
Yes, so he is coming now, yes. Mhm.
And then I do know that D. Jean, Coach's sister, two sisters are actually going up there. She reached out to me, asked if I knew anybody who was going, and I made those connections with Brahma Babe and with Jorge and with you, Amanda.
I'm
So
going.
I know they're going to be in good hands over
Mhm.
there in St. Louis. So hopefully
speaking
they
of
reach
good
out to me.
hands,
Yeah.
Good hands.
I'm looking at hands. Where are all the hands at? Oh, where's your hand
Yeah,
at,
where's
Amanda?
your hand?
It's right here.
Uh-huh.
No,
Congratulations.
I was very surprised. Yes, I was.
She said she was ugly crying from what I heard. That was the report I got.
It was the ugly cry. Yes, it was.
Hey.
So tell
out
us a
further
little bit
than-
about that for those who may not know what happened.
So basically, when the Brahmas were coming in town on the bus, we took everyone over there so they could see them all get off. And I said, well, I'm going to use the restroom real quick. And Jill actually stayed with me. A friend of mine, as some of you know her, stayed with me. And as we were walking back, where are all these people over here? Like, what? That is almost. Anyway, I was like, why are all these people here around right now? And they were like, we're going to get a picture. So I said, okay. I got in the picture, not thinking anything of it. And then I had like a bunch of people grab my shoulders, turn me around, and he's on one knee. I don't know how long it took him to get there, but he got there eventually. He was on one knee and said some very sweet things to me as I ugly cried. But then I had my father, whom a lot of you know, Daddy Ed, right, was like, you have to make sure you ask me first. Did you ask me first? Which he did. He did ask my dad prior to this happening, which that I told him was a big thing for me. Like, my parents I adore my parents, so they're just a big part of my life. So I wanted them to know what was going on. And I said yes, of course, while everyone chanted. She said yes, and it was awesome. You know, like his kids were there to share this special moment. But there was AJ's mom, Dee Dee, was there. That was really cool. She gave her a good hug. But most importantly, to share this moment with my parents was so special. Like, it was, to be able to actually hug my mom and hug my dad and say how happy they were for me meant a lot. So, yeah.
Oh,
So
well
I
then
said
let's
yes.
see it. Zoom it in, baby. Zoom it
I
in.
told him I
Yes.
didn't want a ring. I need this because I do hair every day. Is that me?
Congratulations.
Do you
Congratulations.
hear that?
Do what?
Do you guys hear that? Or is it me on my end?
That's you and your multiple personalities.
Anyway,
Don't
like I
worry.
said, it was an extremely special moment. Thank you to all the fans that came around. Really, really appreciate it. But our guest is here.
Wonderful.
Yes. So without further ado, everyone, as some of you may know, Dr. Erin Shannon, who is the daughter of Mike Shannon, does a lot of very special therapeutic things. And we've had her on before, and I'm really excited for you guys to. If you have any questions, please chime in and ask. We're excited to have her back. So without further ado, everyone, it is Dr. Erin Shannon.
Yay.
Hi.
Welcome.
Guys,
How are you?
Yeah.
Thanks for
Goodness
coming on.
gracious.
So happy to have you back.
happy to be here.
Look at all those accolades back there behind you. Oh, very well deserved. Congratulations. That's an amazing feat. I'm just in awe of everything you do every time I see you.
It was a lot of schooling, but I happen to love school, so it's kind of like a nerd's dream, right?
It's a great nerd stream, I must say. RC, do you want to kick it off with your first question?
Sure. I wanted to ask, are there any like mental exercises that you give adults or athletes that help them that they could do on a daily basis to keep their mind sharp?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Anybody that's done a sport at any level knows that you practice doing the right things every day and you get it down so that you don't think when you're in a game situation. You react, and that's that habituation, constantly trying to tell your body and your brain, when you encounter this stimulus, this is your response and you want it to come instantly, right? So the best time for anybody to work on their mental or physical health is when they're not in crisis. So the exercises that you can do every single day to bring your baseline stress level down, as well as your what we call kind of heart rate variability and vagus nerve tone, to be reactive, which all that means is, hey, if the situation is, it's going to hell in a handbasket, or if the situation is calm and hunky dory, I'm going to have a range of behaviors that I know are adaptive to that response or to that stimulus. That's my response is going to be adaptive based on what I train. So if every day the exercises that you're doing mentally, psychologically are, oh my God, overreacting or negative thinking or catastrophizing, that's going to be your response. And the worse things get, the worse it's going to get, right? So practicing things that help you to respond appropriately and also keeping your mind and your body present to the situation is going to help you in a range of situations, whether good or bad. I sent some links earlier so that you guys could put them on your site because some of the actions that I do with my players and with my patients in general are a combination between Eastern and Western medicine. And what I love about that is that it's not just talk therapy, because sometimes talk therapy really does have kind of a shelf life. When you think about a bad situation, if you're reacting to a bad situation, sometimes you don't have access to the things that you do in talk therapy. Sometimes your body shuts down or goes into a panic mode. So when you compare the talk therapy and the understanding of maybe why those things get triggered in you to what do I do about it in the moment, get my, my trauma response to go from blanking out or fighting to something more adaptive. If you put in some of the energy medicine stuff, which is literally like holding certain points in your body, tapping on certain things, doing certain things with your breath, it changes your biological response, which allows your brain to oxygenate and reset. And the more you practice it, the better you get. And so now you're going to go into a situation and you're going to have a whole toolbox of things that you can do just in case that, positive affirmation or, talking back to your automatic thoughts is not working because you thought you heard a gunshot.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
And one of them that I love when you sent it to me, I was all about, honestly, because I tried it on myself right before I came down here. It's like you put your thumbs here on your temples and you pull and press your skin here. Oh my gosh, you guys. And then once you bring it to your thumb, it just feels so good to actually just have that pressure. And, you always hear pressure points are so important, right? But just those little things by doing those pressure points, the stress that it just relieves from your head in general is just, it's amazing to me.
And, that's why so many people love to get, a scalp massage or, have their feet rubbed. The cool thing about our bodies is we're really now at this point, we're figuring out that a lot of the Eastern methodologies that are thousands and thousands of years old and some of the most cutting edge new Western technologies are combining. So it makes sense why holding certain points or tapping on certain points of your body makes your sympathetic nervous system do something or your parasympathetic nervous system do something. We've got measurements now that we see, okay, this pressure point that maybe people, in India or in the East have called chakra points or meridian points in traditional Chinese medicine or mudras. All of those things are basically doing this biologically, and we can measure it with this technique or, a 4D fMRI or whatever. So it's kind of cool to see East and West understanding each other a little bit more. And it demystifies some of those techniques about, acupuncture, holding points, mantras, breathing. It's all biologically based in every situation. So when you talk about something like what you just said, which is called the crown pull in energy medicine, where you're hooking your thumbs up to your temples, and you're interlacing your fingers and you're pressing and dragging, what you're doing is stimulating points that calm your nervous system down. that allow your energy to go to the right places, allow the blood flow to come back to the top of your head. Like if we look at whenever a large group of people sees something very traumatic, for example, trigger warning, but for example, like when the Twin Towers were hit, we see these videos and there are thousands of people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different language, and most of them did a few things, right? If they didn't need to run, most of them did this or this, right? And their mouths went. So those two things bring, because your body's electric, right? And your body responds to electricity and temperature. And when we put our hands here, we're increasing our blood flow to come back up into our frontal lobe so we don't pass out, so that we can be in control of our thinking and what we're going to do next. This is our planning center right here. When we don't have blood flow to that center, when we don't have oxygen to that center, you're going to do something stupid, or you're going to fall out, or you're going to freeze. The other thing we do is this. And this, of course, is the heart center, breathing. You got to keep your respirations balanced with this. It's just cool that human beings have these instinctual things that we do. We don't know why we do them, but when we look at it a little more deeply, a lot of it is very evolutionarily appropriate.
Yeah.
That's amazing, because now it gives my parents a good reason for those. I got socks for my dad that have like because like I found out that every nerve ending in your body is connected to your to your feet. So I got the socks that map out different things going on with the body. And I gave them my dad for Mother's Day, and he goes, "Why am I getting a gift?" I looked at him, I go, "Happy wife, happy life."
Amen.
That's true.
Rub here.
So he's used them, and he's like, "Man, they work. I don't know how, but they work." And I'm like, "Okay, well."
Yeah, and it feels really, if you don't look into it a little bit more, if you're very Western medicine or very biologically based, right, and you don't believe in anything that you can't measure, look into it a little further. If you look at this, these socks or these gloves, and it says this is connected to your thyroid and this is connected to your stomach or whatever, look at it and you'll see that there are pathways neurologically, metabolically, and it does make total sense. And, people have been doing it for thousands of years. Maybe there's something to it.
Right?
So
And
these pressure.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
I
RC.
wanted to kind of mention how you talked about the pressure points, right? I said in our last show with you that I'm a speech language pathologist and I work with special ed kids. And so when I get that nonverbal kid who's kind of getting a little bit upset, I do pressure on their shoulders all the way down to their hands. And it's hard because they're not able to communicate, right? And so they're only communicating with their behavior, but allowing this pressure all the way down on both arms calms them down. So they don't have to verbalize that this feels better. I can just see a change in their whole demeanor. And I've used also weighted vests for them. I've used weighted blankets. And for some of the population, they don't have enough money to buy a weighted vest. So I get them a fishing vest that has all those numerous pockets. And then I just put bean bags in there.
That's right.
And so that helps. Even getting a bag of beans, you put in the microwave with a sock, and you can put that and cause that pressure. So I'm a true believer in that. And so thank you so much for bringing that up, because, in all populations, we see that they don't have to verbalize, I'm stressed. I can just sense it and I can feel it from them.
And it's great because you can watch this instinctually in children, instinctually in infants, in mothers and their infants, right? There is a dance between pressure points and, when you have your shoulders up and a mother's touch, and the gentle rocking, when you're rocking, swings. As an adult, if you've ever gotten on a swing set and really let yourself swing, do you notice what a massive change happens? It doesn't matter if you're super stressed out or whatever, you literally, your brain calms down. And we found that things like crossing one side of the body to another or moving back and forth. Those things regulate a brain and a nervous system that's dysregulated. And even though, you know, the population that you're working with has obvious deficits, right? And that's why you're with them. Thank goodness for angels like you that do that. All of us, when we're in a stressful situation or just throughout the day, you know, especially with all of our technology, we're going through our day and we're not even aware of how much stress our body is just holding on to. And for us to connect to our body every once in a while, like put a timer on your Apple Watch and every hour, you know, give yourself a little bell that reminds yourself to check in. How are my shoulders? Are they up at my ears or are they dropped? How's my breathing? Is it way up here in my chest or am I breathing nice and deep and relaxed? What are my thoughts doing? Just checking in with ourselves to connect our body with our sense of self is a huge game changer. You see it with athletes. You know, if you're watching any game, watch the players before the game begins when they're in that transition state from, you know, what their coach just said in the locker room and, you know, the music, and then they play the national anthem. Watch what happens. To a man or woman, they are moving back and forth. Their eyes are glazed out or they're closed. Many of them will be stifling a yawn. All of those things are neurological responses to the shift that they're making in their state to get ready to go out to battle. And you can see it in, you know, church when people are praying. You can see it in crises. We physically and mentally, you can't disconnect the two. There are physical signs and there are bodily actions and reactions that initiate a change in our brains that is measurable. It's biochemical, it's piezoelectric, and it's science.
So it's kind of like sensory overload too, right? So going from a quiet environment to an extremely heightened environment. Are those kind of similar situations that you're speaking of when it comes to kind of just your surroundings or different situations that you go in with using those pressure points, things like that? Like what can you do to kind of like prep yourself when you know that there's certain situations that you're going into are stressful? What things can we as women, but anyone honestly use?
So, you know, I think one of the biggest things that you can do, and it sounds really simple, like so many impactful things are simple, become aware of what's going on. Because sometimes we are catastrophizing, playing scenarios in our head, ramping up our fear, and we're not even aware of it. We're disconnected from it. So one, tap in. And the best way to do that is really just focusing on your breathing. If you can focus on your breathing and regulate it, and how do you do that? Simple, you know, breathe in through your nose and count to 4. Hold for 4. And then breathe out for 4, out through your mouth. So in through your nose in a nice slow count of 4, hold it for 4, out through your mouth, slow count of 4. Doing that once or twice massively changes your fight or flight response. Clicks your body into, okay, hold on. Now, if you're doing something that you know you're going to go into a place that you're going to feel overstimulated, and everyone's different, right? Everybody's ability to tolerate stimulation at certain points is going to differ. So you're going into, you know, a movie theater where it's going to be a dramatic movie. Prep your body to recognize some of your own cues. I know that if my stomach starts to get butterflies, that something's going on. That's usually my first cue. That or the shoulders going up, my neck starts to get tight. If any of those things go on, I'm going to notice them quickly if I've trained myself to do so. Then I'm going to have 2 or 3 or 4 little things that I practiced outside of the stressful situation that I know work to allow me to down regulate and calm, whether that's tapping, which I sent some links to points, something called EFT tapping, where you tap certain points on your body while saying certain things and doing certain breathing. And they found it to be more effective than when you're having a panic attack than putting a nitroglycerin tablet under your tongue.
Wow.
Whoa, right? Like, that's a big deal. And the more you do it when you're not stressed, the more you're going to not even need to do it when the stress comes. But I think a lot of times, especially in the West, we're walking around not connected to our body, disconnected to our surroundings, and in a fog. And first and foremost, to connect to your body, get back into your body. Don't be stuck in your head or stuck out here. And that allows you to accurately assess, hey, what's going on with me? And I wonder what that's in response to. So
does that also work
your
with
own little shrink? I think you got to walk around and be your own shrink. And
right?
sometimes it doesn't help to just know, oh, that is probably from this trauma in, when I was 12. Okay, I understand that here, but my heart is still racing. I'm still feeling panicked. I'm still forgetting my words. Okay, just understanding it doesn't allow my body to regulate to it. So understanding is great, but get some exercises and some techniques that work in real time, and then use them over and over again so that you're creating that memory pathway in your brain and your body. So instead of overreacting, you can stop and then choose your reaction.
So then, with all of that being said, and we know athletes deal with physical issues on and off the field after an injury, and synapses are disconnected per se. Is there a way to retrain the body to kind of help rebuild all of that and be able to use it in daily activity after like a car accident or a hard hit on the field, or a ball to the head kind of thing? So, I mean, how does that work? The rebuilding of the mental to the physical.
I think that that's some of the most remarkable studies that I've read in the past 50 years have been on the ability to literally engage muscles and engage neurological connections between the brain and, say, like nerves in your foot. Okay. We used to think, hey, if you're in a cast from your foot all the way up to your hip and you cannot move your leg at all because you have had a terrible injury for 6 months, when you get out of that cast, your leg that used to be nice and muscular is going to look completely different. It's going to look like a stick because your muscles have atrophied away. It takes quite a protracted amount of time to rehab to the point where your foot knows that it's feeling the ground and that you don't fall as you're trying to relearn how to walk. Some of the coolest studies have shown that when you do, and if you look at the studies, it is intensive, but it's mental rehearsal, meaning you're visualizing and moving through as if you're doing exercise. And they found that when you do very specific rehearsal, visual representation of something, your body doesn't know the difference between the lifting of a real weight and the imaginal lifting of a weight. So what is always funny for me is when I'm working with, a hockey player or a NBA player, football player, and they get that cast off, and I get an irate surgeon calling me saying, what on earth have you done? Telling this guy whatever you've done with him, he's clearly been weight-bearing exercise on this limb. No, we've not done weight-bearing exercise, but we've allowed the nerves and the muscles to continue speaking without needing to re-injure it. they come back and their muscles are not atrophied.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor hasn't seen anything like that. But there are studies that I can send them to back that up, and they can see, okay, this guy has done a really incredible job of mental rehab prior to being able to even begin the physical rehab.
Mm-hmm.
Another key thing is, take for football, for example, a lot of guys that'll come back from a very catastrophic injury like an ACL or something, they'll tell you, I didn't know I was ready to be back until after the first big hit that I took. Once I took that big hit, okay, I'm back. And
Mm-hmm.
it's something that we can do when we can imagine or work through energetically having that big hit. I don't want them to go out on the field not in their body, because that
Right.
first hit they take might be,
Mm-hmm.
another catastrophic one. And if
Mm-hmm.
they're tight and worried, they're not going to be in a position where they should be on that field. You can't be scared and on the field. So if I can get them to a place where they don't need to take that first hit, that they're already confident that they're ready to go, then that is worth everything, right?
Right.
So those are real life scenarios that happen, and now we know how it's possible. It's not magic. It's our brain. If we tell our brain something's real, our brain doesn't know the difference. Perception really is reality. And if you can understand the power of that, it really changes what you allow to go on in your brain. Because if there is a thought or a perception or belief that you don't want, you're not going to let that go through your brain. You're not going to practice that bad habit, because you know that your body thinks that's really going on.
Yeah, I've seen that kind of therapy done without even realizing it in VA hospitals with amputees.
Yeah.
And one of the tricks that they used was they held a mirror across to kind of help them alleviate the phantom pains
Right.
that they were feeling in the amputated limb.
That's
And
right.
once that mirror was there, they started realizing, okay, it's going away. And then it would click that it's all in your head. You're producing this pain. And when you take that mirror away, still the same thing, just the mirror's gone. And so it's very amazing to see how fast the brain can kind of re-engineer a new pathway in order to adapt the physical aspect that the body is dealing with. So to see it being added in as well as taking away in different ways, that's pretty amazing feat. I'm surprised to see that it's being used in such a more westernized way. So I'm glad to see that it is. So thank you for sharing that.
I think that, like I said, now that we have such amazing technologies like biofeedback and piezoelectro, imaging in all these 4 or 5 different ways, we're able to validate some of the stuff that may seem a little weird. And we are able to explain it in a way that allows us to get funding for research, allows people like me to, be on the sideline talking to guys, because here's why this works. No, I'm not a witch doctor. Here's what is happening in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And athletes are fun to work with because they're so brilliant about their body. They get it. They may use different language, but they do amazing things with their body. And sometimes they can't maybe explain it, but you see it every, any given Sunday. And so they're fun for me to work with, that athletes as well as little kids who don't know that they're not supposed to know how to do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They have that negative belief structure that we get fed. So those are 2 groups of people that I think are amazing to work with. And then the other group is, of course, people that are kind of desperate, right? Either they're very sick or they've tried everything else and they're like, look, I don't care what you tell me to do. If it's going to work, I'll do it. And so, those tend to be kind of the groups I work with the most.
Yeah, I was
Nice.
going to ask you about that with the different groups of people that you work with. Like, what have you learned over the years, from when you first started till now with working with these different groups of people? Like, what does that do for you? Like the excitement and the joy that you get, seeing things successfully happen.
we have no idea how miraculous we are and how miraculous things that we take for granted. There's so many millions of things happening inside our body, around us, in between us interactionally, quantum physics wise, on different levels, right? That just to breathe, just to wake up in the morning, it's a freaking miracle. And so we barely scratched the surface of what we can do. And the fact that most of the negative things that go on in our mind and our body are under our control and can be mitigated, mediated by our attitude and our choices about what we choose to think and what we choose to do and say to ourselves. If you can change your perception, you can change everything about your life, about your health.
That is so true. That is so true. Like how we think is ultimately like, I remember when, with growing up, how you wake up in the morning, your attitude when you wake up in the morning will show your attitude for the rest of that day. And that's so true.
Yeah. And it doesn't just show your attitude. It literally, you are interacting with your environment in a way that it's creating that. If you think it's going to be a bad day, it will be. That is 100%. If you choose to think something different will happen, because things don't just occur for no reason. There is always an interaction. There's an interaction between us and our thoughts. There's an interaction between our physical, biological, what we're putting out of our body. We can measure things now that we never knew existed. We interact physiologically with each other just by standing next to each other in line.
I have a question. So nowadays, I'm talking about the young athletes. Everyone gets a trophy compared to back in the day when there was like first, second, and third. Do you think that train of thought that everyone gets an award, everyone gets a prize, has that hurt or helped our youth athletes?
I think it's a great question. I think that it's very hard to make a blanket statement, because I've got 6 kids, right? And each one of my kids reacts differently to everything. And they all grew up with the same genes and the same environment, right? But they're very individual. So I just want that blanket statement. Every person is going to react differently. You can't make a, yes, no, good, bad. But in general, I think that when you raise children to understand that their effort and the outcome are not synonymous and correlated, that sometimes you're going to give 100% effort and you're going to still suck at something. And other people are going to go out and give a 10% effort and they're going to, quote unquote, succeed or thrive. And that's reality. Okay. That's the reality that we live in when we're judging something. And so what do you have control over? You have control over the effort. And effort is learning. Effort is attitude. Effort is, grit. There's a lot of things. But if I grow up knowing that, hey, I have control over the most important thing, which is how I show up and how I continue to show up. I can't control how somebody else shows up. I can't control if I'm going to swim against Michael Phelps. There's going to be a different outcome than if I'm going to swim against, my uncle. Okay. Encouraging kids to continue process and attitude without worrying about the external results gives you kids that are resilient. Whoops. You guys hear me? To not need a pat on the back every time, right? Because if you need a pat on the back every time, what's going to happen when you graduate from school and you go out and get a job? You're not getting a pat on the back. Nobody gets an apple every day. Yeah, go do your job because it makes you feel good about what you're doing, not because you want your boss to know and give you a pat on the back.
So can
Does
I
that
ask
make
you a
sense?
question? Yes.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. So who in your family would you contribute a lot of your success and your drive and your passion for what you do?
It's a hard question to answer because I just had a very unique. Everybody's unique and every experience is unique, but I think in my family, what was stressed to us day in and day out is whatever you choose to do with your life, make sure you love it. And if you love what you do, you are successful. So whether you're the plumber or the president of the United States, whether you're making $5,000 a month or $500,000 a month, if you love what you're doing, you won. And if you don't, you lost. And so that there kind of taught all of us, because I'm one of six, I'm the youngest of six. It taught us that, you don't have to be a doctor, you don't have to be a lawyer, you don't have to be a baseball player to succeed. You have to find out what you love to do. And then you have to go and every day do the very best you can so that when you lay your head down at night, you don't have those thoughts of, oh man, what if? If I get up in the morning and I'm doing what I love and I'm doing it the best I can, and as a bonus, I'm doing something that actually is good and helps other people, I won the lottery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think that both my mom and my dad instilled that in us kids. It wasn't, make this amount of money. It was be a good person, be the best at what you do that you possibly can be, regardless of anybody else. And try to do things that you love because then you'll do them more, which means you'll do them better.
Right. Right.
I know
You're
that
definitely
coaches
successful
usually,
at what you're doing.
yeah,
Say again.
I said you're definitely successful at what you're doing. So thank you for your passion.
Oh, my pleasure. And it's always fun to talk to people about these kind of questions because I think that we all need to hear these things sometimes. We all need reassurance that we're okay, we're doing our best, and that, I guess there's nothing wrong with us. I think so many of us are worried about looking at what other people are doing or what I should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's exactly the right recipe because what you should be doing is going to be different than what I should be doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
internal affirmations.
Yeah, and but authentic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah,
if I'm telling myself I'm happy, and I'm not happy, it doesn't work,
Mm-hmm.
right?
right.
And so first I have to understand that what is happy? What does that mean to me? What does success mean to me? What does stress mean to me? I mean, stress, if you look at the definition, it's defined in all kinds of different ways. I think in our culture, we've made stress negative and we've said, stress is basically anxiety. No, anxiety is a thought process that causes a biological reaction. And if we don't have a biological stress reaction, we're probably dead, right? But if we overemphasize in our mind that, oh, when my heart races, that's horrible, I'm having a heart attack, or when I begin to feel sweaty, oh my gosh, that means I'm going to have a panic attack. That's living, with a belief that is not helpful to us. If we give ourselves more helpful belief structures, like, oh, hey, I notice, my heart is racing. My body is reacting, getting prepared for something. That's interesting. Like that could be excitement. That could be, getting ready to run. That could be, and so give yourself more helpful a range of options when you look at the belief system, then your whole perspective opens up and your body isn't the enemy anymore.
That's a great way to look at it.
Well, and I'm just curious too, how much does your diet, like our everyday diet in life, with how we think and how we process everything, like how do those come into play? Because,
I don't
eating
have the best
healthy is,
diet.
having all of these things thrown at you sometimes and making that conscious decision, but also does that play a role in how we think and process things?
It's a great question. Two statements that I think are important on that note is whether it's about your diet, your exercise, your genetics, your environment, sometimes there are critical deficits, right, that need to be addressed. If I am extraordinarily, low in the production of my thyroid hormones, I'm going to look stupid and lazy and overweight and dumb and all kinds of things. There's nothing I can affirm myself out of that until I get an emergent problem solved, which means I need to stimulate my thyroid. I need to take medicine. I need to get surgeries, figure out what's wrong, fix what's wrong. Okay. So minus extreme examples of you have a deficiency, your body doesn't have an enzyme that processes certain foodstuffs, whatever. You're coming out of a sickness, all those things being normalized, right? What you believe about what you're putting in your body has a ton of impact on what you're putting in your body. If I tell myself eating this ice cream is bad and it's going to make me sick or, tired, or if I eat the ice cream or if I don't, I'm already turning on and off certain biological signals in my brain and body that's going to massively impact the way my body accepts and digests and utilizes what I'm putting in it. So first, change your thoughts about your body and your food. And then what's really interesting is you'll change what you put in your mouth. You'll change what you choose to eat when you let go of this is good food, this is bad food. I have self-control. I'm just a terrible eater. I just have bad genes. If you change your belief about it, your behavior will 100% change. If I'm sending cortisol into my body day in and day out because I'm interpreting all the food I eat as poisonous or excessive or negative, then my body is not going to process the greatest diet in the world correctly because I have a cortisol overload. My adrenals are crapped out. So again, not an easy answer, but if you feel good and you think good thoughts about what you're doing, you're going to probably choose better foods.
So, Dr. Shannon, you mean to tell me that if I'm at the tailgate and that chili cheese dog is calling my name and I say, you know what, this is going to do really good for me, I'm going to have all this.
But truthfully, though, look, if
it might help,
go
though.
and enjoy it, if I go and enjoy the chili cheese dog, right, I am eliciting neurochemical and neurohormonal responses that's going to allow me to digest that neurotoxic mess differently than if I tell myself how fat I am, how terrible it is for my cholesterol. Oh my God, I can feel my sugars going and I can feel my, okay, all those things need to be taken into account. I'm not saying that, if you're on diuretics and you have a terrible heart condition, you should go chow down on chili cheese dogs. I am saying that your thought about what you put in your body and your reaction to it and your belief about yourself is going to massively impact how your body physiologically responds to things. That's what
good to know.
I think that's pretty solid response. If you're going to eat the chili cheese dog, eat it, enjoy it, have fun, and then let go of it. Quit obsessing about it and then punishing yourself the next day and going to the gym or eating only carrots. It's just a recipe for failure. Moderation and the internal locus of control. It doesn't, a chili cheese dog hasn't killed anybody. It's a lifetime of chili cheese dogs and your fat and stupid thoughts that kills somebody. Okay.
All right. Good to know. Good to know.
So what would you say to someone that gets out of surgery, recovers, and goes to physical therapy? What would you recommend for them for an ongoing basis? Like, what should they do to make sure that muscle in that area just doesn't tighten up, or for ongoing care, really?
So, for example, if my kid, has like a minor injury, say they tear a muscle a little bit. I don't know what just happened. Hold on. I got light problems over here. Tear a muscle or, maybe sprain something. I'm going to make sure that kid understands, and everybody's different. Sometimes you need to understand the biological process. Sometimes you need to see a picture of it. Sometimes you need to understand, okay, when you do this muscle doesn't feel the same. So when you run, you might feel like this. Understand your injury as it relates to you as a whole person, how it changes your gait, what is going on biologically, what responses you can expect. It gives the kid or the person a little bit more ownership, and they're not going to overreact to certain things. If I expect my foot to be purple after a procedure, I'm not going to, oh my God, overreact and then catastrophize, right? So know your injury and know your body. And then communicating with the people that are experts in their fields is very important, but also know that your physical therapist isn't talking to your surgeon every day, and your surgeon isn't talking to, your dietitian every day. It's up to you to put all those pieces together, and you are in charge of your body. You're the only one that cares enough and is in it enough to really have the answers and the feedback. So I think understanding and ownership go a long way to doing the day in and day out little things that make all the difference in the world. Maybe when you go in for surgery, you're asleep and you're passive, so there's nothing you can do. But again, even going into surgery, the thoughts you're thinking prior to surgery, the food that you're choosing to eat prior to surgery, all of those things are going to make an impact on the surgery. Yeah, you're not the surgeon, but you can do many things, even in the most, what feels like helpless situation. So that would be my kind of general rule. There's so many things that you can do that don't cost money, that you don't need to hire somebody like me or, somebody that is a specialist. Just go online and look at some things, do the little exercises, tell yourself the right things, and be good to your body. Don't punish it. And you'll come back and the injury will actually be stronger. Say, if you broke your tibia, if you rehab it correctly, it's going to be stronger there than the other tibia that has not been injured, because your body's so miraculous that when it heals, it'll put some extra tissues and scarring around there. So now it's going to be even harder to break that, right? If
kind
you
of
do it the right
fortifies
way,
it a little bit.
that's right. You become a little bit superhuman in that spot.
All right.
So
there we go. Well, thank you so much for coming on again. Yes. We really enjoyed having you on, and thank you so much for your time. And where can people find you, Dr. Erin Shannon?
It's pretty easy. Just my name. So www, then Dr. Erin, Erin Shannon.com. And I sent you guys a bunch of links that you can even include for, exercises to do, technology, like, talking about oxygenating your brain and your body. One of the best tools I have ever used, and I use and have all of my patients using it, is is one of the links I sent you is the Bimini machine. And that's just something that you put in your bath. It super oxygenates the blood, super oxygenates the water, and it allows both your tissues in your body and in your brain to get so many more times the amount of oxygen that we would typically get. It's like, hyperbaric chamber on steroids. We've got people going into this thing and coming out after one session and game changer. Things like eczema, recovery from things, mental, physical, reaction time, speed. It's insane. But again, simple things, right? Oxygen.
Yeah.
It helps,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Love it. So we have all of those up. We
Yeah.
have all of those up so everyone can definitely go on and find them. We really appreciate you coming on. We'll have you on again, of course, if you would like to come back on.
Anytime, guys. I love coming on and talking with you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Appreciate it.
Shannon.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Isn't she great?
Man, every time, dude. I'm just in
Literally
awe.
looked at the clock and I was like, we kept
Yeah,
her.
I know, right?
She's just so good. I love listening. It's so informative. And the pressure points, now when I wake up in the morning, I want to do them and do my breathing in the morning.
Right?
I feel like we're all get so tense so easily.
I think that's one of the things that, my mom taught me was you get up in the morning, you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, you're going to crush it today.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go out there and you're just going to crush it and you're gorgeous. And I think that's why I just don't care what people think of how I look or what I look like.
That's a great quality. I need to have more of that. My mom, though, I have to give her kudos because every morning she wakes up, she does the A through Z alphabet with her ankles, moves it around.
Oh, nice.
Pretty amazing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So let's do our picks for these games real quick. Let me see who was. Let's see. Stunning. Let's see. RC and Amber, you both picked the Brahmas to win that game, of course, but I didn't.
Yeah. Rub it in, engaged princess.
Whatever. And then we all were wrong by picking the Roughnecks, but that's okay.
Yeah, I know. It was wishful thinking on my part. I'm not even going to lie. It really was. I was just hoping they got that first round draft pick, but they didn't. Congratulations to Memphis. Y'all played a great game. Still within one score. And, the players were amazing and they thanked us and we enjoyed meeting everybody. Traveling was awesome. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we pull out next year.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I have a feeling y'all will be good next year. Okay, so who we picking, Michigan or Stallions? Let's start with that game.
I'm probably gonna have to go with the Stallions.
I'm going Stallions.
You guys, I am thinking there's gonna be an upset. I am. I think it's not that it's really an upset, but I think Michigan may pull this off.
Are we really? Are you looking at the records? Look at the numbers.
Yeah, well, if you looked at Arlington's record last year and they won it all last year, you can't really compare the two, so I must say.
You're going to be like those referees. I'm blind, I deaf, and I want to be a ref.
That's actually a very good saying. I've never heard that one before.
That's what we chant when they have a bad call.
Well, that's a lot nicer than here in St. Louis. But anyway. What about St. Louis and Brahmas?
I know history shows it's difficult to beat a team 2 games in a row. So if we had to lose one game, I'm okay with losing the last game. And this game, we're going to take it off. So there, boom, Brahmas all the way.
Where is it at again?
St. Louis.
I'm sorry. I think the Battlehawks are going to take this one. Home field advantage. I mean,
yeah, but
y'all are both
had 1 point, even with all those people there. It should have been more than 1 point.
I got to give credit where credit's due. That home field advantage. Y'all are both in arenas, right? Y'all are in dome stadiums, so weather's not going to be a factor, right?
Well, and Leo was on the bottom line the other night, and he was talking about, and I completely agreed with him. Did you hear that, Amber?
Yeah.
Where he was like, I I think that they're going to be out for blood. Like, I really do. And I think he thinks that for them to be in St. Louis both times, for St. Louis to pull it off both times here, he doesn't see it happening. And I'm not going to lie, I am nervous. Because
I'm going to go St. Louis.
Because Brahmas do have a great team. And
of course they do.
If we stay healthy, you have to add that in. If we stay healthy, we have a great chance. But recently, a lot of our injuries, those have been our Achilles heel, not to be so like a pun, but it's true. The injuries have really been hurting us. So again, Garber's got hurt and we had to bring
healthy
in
team.
Kirkland had a great game last week.
So we'll see. I'm still going Brahmas.
Yeah, Kirkland had a great game last week too. I'm telling you, like, for somebody who says no hands Butler all the time, he better grow some limbs because he better have his hands ready. But he did block that kick last week, so I was impressed with that. So you're going with St. Louis? Of course I'm going with St. Louis, but
I'm sorry.
Doesn't mean I'm not nervous. Doesn't mean I'm not nervous.
Hey, I'm just glad I don't have to worry about my team anymore.
Okay.
I'm still recovering my voice from last week, and I have to somehow have it back again by this weekend. So
you'll get it, girl.
But it's a 6:00 game here in St. Louis, so
yeah,
that'll be fun. Anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in to the A Team with Miss RC. We look forward to seeing you. Yes, tune in for Girls Chat coming up at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern, yeah?
Yep.
And we will see y'all next week.
Have fun.
Horns forward.
Do that.